everyone, in today's video I'm going to take you through some tips and tricks that I use for when I shoot my flat lays. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you would know that I take pictures of flat lays pretty often, and I've kind of developed a little bit of a process, and I just wanted to share some of my tips and tricks with you. So if you're interested, just keep watching. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing when it comes to a flat lay, is the background, or what backdrop you're gonna use to place your props or your products on. And what I do is pick any surface that I find aesthetically pleasing or that goes with my feed. Obviously, I don't want the surface to be busy because I'm going to be placing several things on top of it, so I want the background to be as minimal as possible. Fabric backdrops really add the perfect touch to pictures. Aside from fabrics, I do use my kitchen counter, my desktop, my wood floors. It all depends on where I'm placing that picture on my feed. You can go into any fabric store or any craft store and pick a fabric that kind of goes with your feed. This is one of the fabrics that I really love. I don't know the name of this. I don't know what kind of fabric it is. I just picked it because of the colors and because of the texture. It's very natural in color and it looks kind of like a linen type of fabric, and it has like little specks of different colors. It kind of looks like sand when you look at it up close, and I think that it matches perfectly with my feed. So I really love this one. But when I don't feel like using this one, and for instance I feel like using a black backdrop, I use my favorite coat and I throw it on the floor and I place my products on it, and it works really well. I love how fabrics add texture to your background without overwhelming your picture. Again, you guys can use whatever backdrop you have as long as it kind of goes with your feed. This next tip is pretty obvious, but you would be surprised how many people just don't take this into consideration when they're shooting not only flat lays but every single picture. Lighting. Lighting is probably the most important thing. Lately I've been kind of into flash photography, but 90% of the pictures on my feed are taken using natural lights. I also really love to catch lights and shadows, so I get a lot of light beams in my house, so I try to use those light beams and I incorporate them into a lot of my pictures and a lot of my flat lays. So lighting can really transform your picture. For flat lays, it is extremely important to have your products well lit. Just place your products wherever you want or wherever the light hits it perfectly. That's another reason why I really love to have things like fabrics where I can just throw it wherever I have like a little light beam or a little bit of light on my floor, and I just place my products so that the sun just lights my products perfectly, and all I have to do is take the picture. Next is your product or prop placement. Just because the picture is called a flat lay doesn't mean that you have to lay all the products flat on the floor. You can definitely stand certain products up. Not everything has to be so perfect. Before, when I used to shoot flat lays, I used to make everything very symmetrical and perfect, and the products were like perfectly spaced apart. And now I kind of like things to look a little or a lot less perfect. I think that gives it a more organic and just natural vibe.
And while we're on the topic of product placement, I actually noticed while I was editing this video that I really prefer to place my products in the shape of an S. I feel like it gives that natural vibe that I was talking about, and it doesn't look like I really put that much thought into placing my products a certain way. I just kind of put them there and it looks very natural.
Every time that I shoot a flat lay, I look at my previous picture and I kind of figure out if I can make all of my products spread out through my entire flat lay, or if I'm gonna keep it to one side or one corner, or if I'm gonna angle it and things like that. So if I see that my previous picture is very heavy or there's a lot going on, then something that I like to do is kind of angle my flat lay or leave a tiny bit of negative space. So I kind of shift my products a little bit so that I have a little bit of negative space or a little bit of my background showing in my flat lay, so that it doesn't really clash with my previous picture. I don't always do this. Sometimes I really don't care, but for the most part, I do take my previous picture into consideration. Along with whatever products I'm trying to have be the center of my flat lay or the center of attention, I add props. So I love to add like any of the vases that I have in my house, or I love to add magazines, or just any little prop that I think would look good with the picture. And I love to add props that come up a little higher than the actual picture. I think that it adds a lot of interest to your picture. So if you can find a vase or some flowers or dried out wheat or whatever it is that you want to put in your picture and have it come up a little higher than your products, I think that that kind of gives it a very cool vibe. With that said, you have to make sure that your products or whatever it is that you want to be in focus is in focus, because obviously if you have something coming up a little higher, if you're not manually focusing, then your camera might focus on whatever's coming up higher than your products. I like it when whatever it is that's coming higher is a little bit blurred out, and then I have my products, which are on the floor, in focus. And my final kind of tip is your angling. Now, a lot of people think that flat lays, you have to be looking straight down at your products, but I really love using angles. I love to do this when I'm taking pictures of products on my vanity or just products that I have standing up somewhere. But again, you could just use a regular flat lay and just angle your camera as opposed to looking directly down overhead of your products. And that is pretty much everything that I do for my flat lays. I know that it may sound like a lot to some people, but I promise you guys that in my opinion, flat lays are some of the easiest pictures to shoot. Maybe figuring out how you're gonna place your products is probably the most tedious part, but for the most part, I think that it is very easy, and there's just no right or wrong way of shooting not just flat lays, but any pictures. So just keep that in mind. These are just my tips and tricks and my methods that I've been using for years and that work for me. So hopefully you guys found them helpful. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video.